you guys, this is Allison from My Space to Craft, and I thought that I'd make some sentiments today. I had just finished a card. I still had the stamp set out, and rather than putting it away, I thought, well, let's make some. I have some old sentiments there. They're not great. They're not working for me, so I figured let's make some new ones. So I particularly like this May Made It stamp set, More All Occasions, and then there's also one that's called How Many. And so what I'm going to do is use my stamp platform and then make a couple of happy birthday sentiments. I'll do black ink and then emboss with clear. The nice thing about that is you really don't have to worry about using the deboss powder or whatever that is called, that powder that stops the embossing powder from sticking. Since it's clear, it doesn't really matter. So you just emboss with your black ink, and I'm using VersaFine Clair black ink, and just making them. I like to use this coffee, little coffee filter for my embossing powder. You can also use a piece of paper folded, and then it's easy to get it back in the container, but this works too. I am just using a brush to wipe some of the excess off, but it's not necessary. So I'm just going to stamp away several. This is a scrap piece of white cardstock. It had some schmutz or something on the back of it, so I didn't want to use it for anything else. So I figured cut it up and make some sentiments. And then I'll have these ready when I go to make a card quickly or something like that. So something that would take me 10 or 15 minutes to do one off, I can do several of them and then have them ready for me. So here, and then what I'm going to do is just die cut them. So this is me just stamping away. I stamp most of them twice, which is nice that you can do that with the stamping platform. I use the Tim Holtz one, but a lot of people use the Misty. And then, so I've done 3 with that, and now I'm going to do a little bit larger one. And this one is just the outline of the word happy, and so after it's embossed, I'll be able to color it either with markers or watercolors or alcohol markers. So this first one, I get it as close as I can and still do a single stamp, but you'll see that it gets a little far apart. So in just a minute, I'm going to do it in 2 steps. I'm having a little trouble aligning my paper. There we go. So these stamp sets stamp beautifully. They have really nice quality stamps. I am going to stamp it twice. Comes out very nicely. And I'm just setting that aside so that I can then heat emboss them all together, so I don't have to do that one at a time. Get my heat embossing tool warmed up only once. So I think this is the last one that I'm going to do this way. And this time I'm going to stamp it twice in 2 separate steps. So I'm going to do the happy first. And then when I do the birthday, I'll be able to snug it in there a little better. and get it a little closer. And I think it comes out cuter this way. All right, last one, add the embossing powder. And I was working hard to keep the lid on it because I would have a habit of spilling it. So my heat embossing tool is just on the other side of the room. So here they're heat embossed, and then I've gone through my dies to find some that will fit them. This one barely fits, so I have to be pretty careful where I tape it down. I'm using some mint tape for that. So each one will have a little bit different shape, a little bit different die cut for it. And I'll have them ready to go onto cards. So I'm going to go cut those on my Big Shot. I still use a manual die cutting machine. It works great. And I do actually end up being able to fit all 4 of those with one pass. So that's nice. And here they're just on my magic mat. So you can see, just pop that out. And then I can, because a lot of these are nested dies, if I want to, I can set them on, I can mat them with another item from the nested frames. Those rectangular ones, they're pretty cheap dies, and they didn't cut super cleanly, so I just had to use my scissors to finish that cut. You can see there so some different shapes and different sentiments, and then I'm just going to take my personal trimmer and cut this one into a plain old rectangle. And I have 5 sentiments ready to go. So next I will make a card with one of them. I have a scrap on my desk that I thought I'd use. I end up not using it, but let's make a card. So I struggled the other day with these rub-ons, and so I thought, I'm going to give them another chance. I'm going to use a wooden popsicle stick tool instead of my bone folder, and see if I can make those work. So I've already done the 2 little sprinkly balloons. That worked well, and now I'm doing these other balloons. So luckily that worked out. I had a lot better luck with these. Then you can see that disaster there on the bottom of that piece of paper from the other day that I did. So I'm just going to take a couple more. I end up not using all 3 of these. I just use one of them. Well, I use the 2 sprinkle balloons, and then I use just one of these colored balloons on the card. But I'm just being really careful, trying not to move it until I know that it's adhered down to the paper. I'm putting it on my nice thick white cardstock, and then I will fussy cut them out to use on the card. And here I'm just lifting a tiny bit and just double checking that it's coming off clean. So I had a lot better luck with this. It was really frustrating the other day because I tried 2 different tools to get those rub-ons off, and neither one worked well, and I ended up having to just stamp birthday sentiments. So here, this is some really thin paper that I had in my scrap bin, and a piece of pink paper that I had in my scrap bin. And I liked little lines and in circles, so I thought that it worked. The happy birthday, the rectangular one, I thought was a little too big. And here I'm just deciding 5 balloons is too many for that. So I'm just going to use 3. I'm going to use some foam adhesive to pop up that sentiment. When I'm finished, I'm going to pop up one of the balloons, and then I'm going to hand draw the little strings. I thought about using twine and decided against it. So here I'm just trying to get the positioning of them so it looks like they're a little bit in a bunch. And positioned well on the page. So I'll just foam dot that. And these foam dots I'm using, they're super tall. I don't like to use them on scrapbook pages. In fact, I tried earlier today and just decided no, and I had to pull them off. They were just way too tall, but it works for a card. So now I'll just take this is a Creative Memories pen, and I'm just going to figure out where I want the strings to. And then I'm going to draw a little bow there at the top, like they're both drawn together. And then it's time to stick. So that I can get it adhered properly, I'm going to glue this card front down to the card base first, and then I'm going to stick the sentiment on. So there you have it, one quick little simple card made with some scraps, just making sure all the edges are down nice, and some rub-ons. Thanks for watching.